I'm officially changing my name again from the Dirt McGirt to the Old Dirty Chinese Restaurant. Just looking at quickly. Actually, before I get into OpenAI's stuff, I want to start a YouTube channel with a girl, and our YouTube channel is going to be talking about sex and reviewing the food at all-inclusive tropical resorts. But I need your help to get the channel off the ground, and so contact me directly for more info. But that's what we're doing. So I need to find the right girl. So get at me, ladies.
This is 2-Minute Papers with Dr. Károly Zsolnai Fehér. In early 2019, a learning-based technique appeared that could perform common natural language processing operations, for instance, answering questions, completing text, reading comprehension, summarization, and more. This method was developed by scientists at OpenAI, and they called it GPT-2. The key idea for GPT-2 was that all of these problems could be formulated as different variants of text completion problems, where all we need to do is provide it an incomplete piece of text and it would try to finish it.
Auto-predictive text has existed for a long time. I don't see how GPT-2 or GPT-3 is as groundbreaking as people are making it out to be. You know? One second, I gotta call. So, I mean, that's just what I'm talking about. And then it's a closed system of accessibility. So they're claiming that it's OpenAI, it's open source. But like, let's go to OpenAI and let's look at what they're. I just think we need to be realistic about it. We need to be realistic about the real value of this kind of software development, this kind of programming. I mean, you've got DALL-E. So, OpenAI. The name implies access, open source. It's open to people. But when you look at these examples, they're not open. Like, there's limitations. You can only choose so many of the. What if I could just originate an entire sentence of anything that I wanted rather than choosing the selected variables? Like, this is not that like, people are saying how impressive it is, but it's not really that impressive. Like, I could even set this up just with JavaScript. Just knowing JavaScript, I could just create these images myself, or grab a bunch of images from other sources online, arrange them, and then create a matrix whereby one variable in relation to another variable leads to what we're seeing in these display pics. So, you know, like, until it's truly open, and then if I want to actually access the software, it's up to OpenAI as to whether or not I can get it. So I'd have to be kissing their ass in order to be able to actually test it for real. Give me a break. You'd be better off just drawing stuff yourself. Like, that's what I'm talking about, is that it's like, do we really need more pictures of panda bears riding a unicycle? It's like, we need to cure cancer. We need to help alleviate suffering and heart disease and what else? We need to stop governmental corruption and murder and police violence. It's like, some of the brightest minds are working to provide us with panda bears riding a unicycle. We got big problems here. There's big problems on Earth. We should not be focusing, we should not be going in the route of the abstraction that is this level of automation. You know, it should not be done. There's much more direct ways. As I said before, you know, UI and UX are not the level of abstraction that AI is, and auto-predictive image generation and stuff like that is. So here, we'll read through what they've got. I'm being very critical, But these people are making lots of money, and people are constantly talking about how impressive it is. I don't find this impressive. I really don't. It's like a radish with a dog. Oh, that's cute. But it distracts you from the valuelessness and all of the resources that are wrapped up in useless stuff.
Dual times E, creating images from text. We've trained a neural network called Dual times E that creates images from text captions for a wide range of concepts expressible in natural language. January 5, 2021. 27. Dual times E, 1. We decided to name our model using a portmanteau of the artist Salvador Dali and Pixar's Wall times E. Is a 12 billion parameter version of GPT-3 trained to generate images from text descriptions, using a dataset of text-image pairs. We've found that it has a diverse set of capabilities, including creating anthropomorphized versions of animals and objects, combining unrelated concepts in plausible ways, rendering text, and applying transformations to existing images. Text prompt. An illustration of a baby daikon radish in a tutu walking a dog. AI-generated images. Edit prompt or view more images.
Okay, so we'll go in here and we'll edit the prompt of a shrimp with headphones on playing a guitar. There you go. But as I said again, until I can, I want a Godzilla with a Fender Stratocaster and a Marshall JCM 800 and several distortion pedals playing November Rain. So, there we go. That's what I want. Why can't I have that? Where's Godzilla? Baby, capybara, cucumber. I want Godzilla. Until it lets me have that, I don't think we should be too excited about this. Personally, and I've said it before. Okay. In addition, there's this video that was released by Boston Dynamics, and it's interesting to watch the real video and consider, because of the nature of the movement programmed into the robotics, it seems as it's like looking at a render because it's so artificial in nature. It's pretty cool though. Like, see, doesn't it look like a render? It looks like it's CG. Well, the one thing that comes to mind that is a actual technical real issue with regard to the Spot Mini, number one, is that Boston Dynamics is, unfortunately, they were sold to Hyundai, I think. Hyundai. So it's too bad that they weren't sold to a better company. Like, I think if Boston Dynamics had been sold to Ford, the bastion of American utility in vehicles, I think that would have been a reason to have significant hope of progress in the market. But I guess Hyundai, I mean, they're not really the auto manufacturer that I'd be excited about. But the one point of consideration is that if, number one, it's a product offered to market. As far as I know, they're about 75K American right now. So for the average consumer to buy the Spot Mini and have capabilities of learning how to program the robotics, which is a huge factor. Of course, there's going to be libraries for various tasks, but it's going to be up to the development community globally and the people with the resources and also to educate more and more people to how to facilitate this, so that we can expand the bubble of experimentation in the real world and make real progress. I think that's when things are going to start to improve more quickly, is when more people have access in an open source kind of way, no matter what it is that we're developing. But the interaction between two arms and two hands, or robotic clamps, is much more significant than one, as well as the programming of the interaction between multiple Spot Minis and their ability to manipulate objects it's a significant, hugely significant consideration, because programming one arm to do things and interact with objects in the environment is much more mathematically simplistic than having two operate in perfect synchronous order. So, especially if they're on independent bodies. So we're talking about 2 or 3 of these. Just thinking about getting them to manipulate construction materials, like if we want these things to build a house, to get them to be able to lift all of the materials, hold them in place at the correct angles, and perform all of the other smaller tasks that are going to be involved in the construction of a wood frame house or a significant structure, concrete forming, stuff like that. Like, those are the most laborious tasks within civil society. So that's what I think we should be focusing on first, as well as in comparison to the automation of driverless technology. It's a safer area to perform the experiments in, to do the research and development within, because at the end of the day, a construction site, human beings can just back away from and try to get the robotics to do their thing while on the construction site. On the road, you're really putting people's lives and health at great risk. So I just think there's a lot of progress to be made in the implementation of this robot specifically, Spot Mini, and I think it's going to be up to the consumer and up to enterprises to actually invest into it so that we can see progress within it. Like, if nobody buys and uses the Spot Mini, from my perspective, universities, like every major university on earth, should be purchasing a Spot Mini right now and then having courses based upon it. I think that would be a rock solid investment, and the price will probably drop. Of course, we could achieve a similar ends for the platform of education and development just using drones. So like, we could buy, a couple $100 drones, but the platform for being able to program and automate the drones, the ability to do that is essential. So, perhaps there's a lot of different drones offered to market, but there aren't great platforms for developing the automation. Now, we can simulate this. We could create a video game-like environment, which is done all the time, and it's not the same. That's the important distinction to be made, is when we simulate physical reality, it's not nearly the same, and I'm sure that the developers at Boston Dynamics intend to make that statement through all of the funny videos that they show when the robot falls over and can't do anything. So I like Boston Dynamics for that. They're never afraid to show all of their failure, and thousands upon thousands of failures have led to this video.
Harassing, better focus on what's charging me. I can get it in to me. I got you. 영혼의 쥐돌 따라가. 힘없이 달려가다. 네가 지칠 때.
Now, when we're looking at the ultimate capabilities of this thing, that's what has yet to be discovered. But if I were the mayor of Vancouver, I would try to convince the voters that they should buy the Spot Mini as a mascot for the city. And I would go with each municipality. If I were the mayor of the municipality, I would have each municipality invest in a Spot Mini, and then, pay the taxpayer dollars, $75,000 to get our collective Spot Mini. You could have people vote on it. You could have a referendum as to whether or not. Then take that Spot Mini and have kids educated on how to program it, how to operate it, and create an original educational platform based upon the shared ownership on behalf of the municipality. I think that would be a really cool thing to do, at the same time as we'd be investing into the market that's going to lead to significant progress, and it's interesting to think about the rate at which things will develop. When you look at the Apple One, let's compare pictures of the Apple One. So it's amazing to think that when you look at the visual representation, just what the Apple One was. I mean, yeah. So look at this screen. It's like a, it's a one color DOS-like interface with, yeah, a typing interface. This was released in 1976. The Apple One computer, originally released as the Apple computer and later as the Apple One, is a desktop computer released by Apple. So it was released in 1976. The iPhone was released in 2000 and, is it 2007? iPhone 1, or I got an iPhone in 2007. The iPhone 1 after 2008. So when was the first release of the iPhone? 2005? In 2005. The iPhone was released in 2005. I think it's just like, I'm sure a lot of people have thought about this, but it's amazing to think of going from the Apple One as just seen in less than 30 years to the iPhone. We went in 29 years, we went from the Apple One to the iPhone 1. That is a huge, huge, huge leap in 30 years. Massive. So if we look at what Spot Mini is now, think about 30 years from now, what the Spot Mini is going to be able to do. It will be able to do I assume that the Spot Mini will be able to do everything that we want it to do in 30 years. Or less. And it's also interesting to think about the fact that the internet scientifically allows us to exchange information, develop and communicate about such things, such highly technical things, and broadens the scope of interaction to the entire global spectrum. So think about that as contributing to the process. One could say, well, that might hinder the process because of the level of competition that now exists. But like, that's what we need to deal with, is that we need to keep the miracle in sight. We need to be appreciative of the ultimate miracle of having essentially all human labors taken care of. And if you've ever spent any time reading Nick Bostrom's Superintelligence is a book I highly recommend. So I've read this book probably four times. But I recommend that if anybody is interested in this specific facet of technology, Nick Bostrom's Superintelligence is a great book to start on. The control problem. I think as soon as we start to have, a global empire of Spot Minis, people might start to worry about what they could do in a negative sense. But the control problem is readily addressed within this book, and I think it does a good job of examining it. So that doesn't worry me so much, because I look at it being the same as human beings. Sometimes human beings murder other human beings. Sometimes human beings, there are Timothy McVeighs in this world. So there might be a small margin of robotic error, malfunction, mishap, but, it's probably going to be the same or less than a human being. And I think that driverless cars are a much more dangerous endeavor than the Spot Mini. And it's a real pleasure to drive sometimes. If there's one thing that I want to alleviate, it's the need for really hard, undesirable human labors and dangerous human labors. Driving a car, even if you're driving a semi-truck for a living, it's a pretty desirable profession. You know what I mean? Like, So it's not one of the first things that I would seek to do away with, you know. So I just think that should focus on the most difficult tasks first. And I think there's other ways as far as construction specifically to pursue that in terms of modular fabrication of units that could then be assembled in more efficient ways. Like much like the assembly line with a car, we could devise assembly lines for modular units that could then be just rigged into place and fastened together in a much more easy way than it is to actually build from the ground up using traditional methods. And I think there's lots of companies pursuing that. One off the top of my head is this company, Lost to Go Kudo. So in terms of creating modular units for assemblage, this company's done some pretty interesting stuff. They're expensive, but you can think about how these units could just be produced and then put in place and stacked and juxtaposed in a number of different ways. And integrated photovoltaic arrays could be placed into these, and very little human labor would need be performed in order to achieve that. So yeah, here's Elon talking about something. I'm not sure if it has direct relations. He was saying something that I wanted to talk about.
Harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning?
Yes, okay, so we're talking about robotics, and he's talking about the purposefulness of human labors to justify the individual's life. So personally, here's where I stand. I mean, I think we should all be ready to find purpose within ourselves, find purpose within the world and our life in an existentialist way. We should all be prepared for that. If you're free, you have enough money to be happy and do all the things that you want to do, and you have enough, you have enough of everything, all of the essential things that you need, and you're free to explore your own intelligence and explore the world as you see fit. If you have a problem with finding something that you enjoy, contact me directly, because I just think of just read all day, grab a book and keep reading, or do a YouTube, or play a video game, or play a video game really competitively. Take it seriously. Try to beat me at Apex Legends. If you can, I'll give you $5. If anybody can beat me at a video game on this channel, live in stream, I will give you $5. This is a limited time offer. But yeah, he's just talking about the existentialist meaning in life in relation to labors and work.
An age of abundance.
With automation, there will come abundance. Almost everything will get very cheap. Some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? If you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, what's the meaning?
I think he makes a good point, because I do know people that feel that way. I know people that get real purpose in laboring all day on a construction site or doing something. I just like to hit the gym. Like, if you need to occupy your physical self, set a fitness goal. Set a cardiovascular endurance goal. Do the gross grind as many times in one day as you can. Just keep as physically fit as you possibly can. How many pull-ups can you do? How much can you bench press? How many push-ups can you do? So like, I really don't think that we should have any problem finding meaning in our lives. We can set goals for ourselves, whatever they are, and then work to achieve those goals. Like, my goal is to be the most popular YouTuber in the world. So, let me know.
I think in a way it can be a little depressing, but in a way that makes us appreciate each day and the people around us a little more. So my answer is that the best role for me would be my next one because I want to keep exploring. And remember, hang in there. It only gets better from here.
So this guy is talking about, again, GPT-3. And I think there should be, again, I just want to say there should be a web API to make GPT-3. There should be a web, direct, open, available, publicly accessible web API for every single artificial intelligent offering that claims significant value. I think a real one, not a phony one that just displays a matrix of pre-existing pictures. I can do that too. I can easily program a web page to just display columns and rows of images. That's not that significant. Bloomberg technology. Does anybody like TikTok? I'm thinking of just doing some shorts on TikTok. Okay, I might just play some Apex now. What have we got here? Dating AI robots. I don't know. Like, apparently in the Chinese economy, there's a lot of interest in sex dolls. Personally, I mean, this is just what I'm talking about. That seems not good. It's talking about dating AI robots here. Dating AI robots. Yeah. I think that should be a message to all the ladies out there. If a huge portion of the population are turning to sex dolls, plastic pieces, perhaps you're not being compassionate enough to the men out there. Just maybe. Yeah. So I guess that's all I'm gonna say for the day on that. I might get back at it, or I'll go do some crypto in a bit. But for right now, we're gonna play some crypto. There we go. This guy. And I'm gonna mention the vaping here, and Portial. So this is Portial from Columbus, Ohio. This guy's a great producer, and props to him. Props to Portial on SoundCloud. But I'm gonna mention the vape here. There you go. There's another personal challenge. See how many vape pods that you can consume of a day without ill health effects. There's a personal challenge that everybody could live up to. And also, the vilification of vaping. On behalf of the media, and especially the local media, I think there's a real schism with regard to that within the value system of society, in that the establishment has banned vaping in the same way as smoking. But whether you like to admit the scientific reality or not, vaping is not as bad for you as smoking. It's far, far, far less bad for you. So to everybody that is still smoking tobacco, I highly recommend, if you find it difficult to go without that, then you should definitely vape instead. Because Surgeon General will tell you, and I'll tell you from personal experience, having been in the military. I was in the military, and in the military, everybody smoked, or like most people smoke constantly. And when you are a frequent habitual smoker, it is bad. It's really bad for your lungs unless you're doing super intensive cardio to work it off. I do fairly intensive cardio in order to work off what things I choose to do that are not deemed entirely healthy. But through personal experience, comparing vaping products to smoking products, it's incomparable. Number one, how much more convenient it is to vape, how much less dangerous it is in terms of setting things on fire, and how much healthier you feel. Like, I intend to quit vaping at the right time. It's not something that I always want to do. I consider myself to have the ability to quit vaping if I should so choose. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. I think there's way too much hate on something that is a far safer alternative and is better in a multitude of ways. Like, the flavors are delicious. Raspberry vape. Kids, get your raspberry vape.
I'm not trying to. I'm saying because of your perspective. You're. Because
we're definitely getting some lag here. I'm definitely encountering some lag. I'm streaming it, so I'm gonna go up top. There is something to be said for not repeating a sample too many times. You know, I like it when producers use a sample and they're reserved, very reserved about how they use their sample.
Learn from this.
Oh, yeah.
Prepare for victory. Prepare for anything.
The all-seeing eye logged off my drone. Someone destroyed my drone.
Care package arriving. Choose your next move quickly.
Eyes in the sky. Care package coming in.
So we got one guy that's not even playing.
Reloading.
Nice.
Reloading. I'm fine. I'm fixing up.
The enemy nears victory. Do not give in to fear.
They are close to victory, but I will not run from this fight.
Round 3. I'm beginning to enjoy this.
Getting my eyes in the sky. I'm down. I need to get back in.
Show no mercy.
Have a great day, folks. Those sure were some great teammates again.
Our winners have been